Welcome back to Topcoder Open 2016 live in Washington, D.C. at the Booz Allen Hamilton Innovation Center. I am joined right now by the legendary Petr. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm thrilled you're here. This is awesome. So, for anyone who doesn't know Petr, and if you don't, I suggest you just Google his name. I'm sure you'll find some great results. Petr is a very accomplished competitive coder. How many times have you won a TCO? I know you've been here an awful lot.
So far only 3 times, but I have high hopes for the day.
Only 3 times, looking for 4. That's excellent. So Petr, you hail from Russia originally?
Yes.
Yes, and where are you now? I know you've moved recently.
I've moved about 2 years ago to Zurich in Switzerland to work for Google there. It's a pretty nice place. I enjoy Switzerland a lot these days.
All right. So what do you enjoy doing in Switzerland? I don't know. Is it?
Switzerland doesn't give you that much choice, so basically you have to enjoy nature or you can enjoy nature. So that's what you do there, and it's really nice. And we do hiking, cross-country skiing, stuff like this.
Oh, okay. Cross country. Do you get into the Alps at all? Do any downhill?
I don't do downhill. I think it's a bit too dangerous for me, but I do cross-country skiing in the Alps as well, because that's where all the facilities are. So, for example, if you want to ski and then go to restaurants, then you better go to the Alps.
Yeah, I'd love to get up there and try it myself. I do the downhill, but I go very slowly because I'm not very good at it. So, Petr, you had a pretty exciting TCO so far. You came in first place in the first round of the algorithms. How did that feel coming out of that match?
It was very relaxing. So to me, the semi-final round is in a sense a bit more, how to say, you regret it much more when you lose there. So I was probably even more afraid of losing because if I lose in the finals, mostly because somebody does a great job, they solve the problem. But when you fail to get into 3 out of 6, it feels more like we're just unlucky or something. So
Yeah. So, I mean, I really feel like the algorithms semifinals so far are really a tale of two rounds. So in the first flight, which you competed in, it seemed like it was really based on how quickly the questions could be solved. We saw pretty much a lot of submissions to the 250 and the 500, and most of them held up through challenges and system testing. Last night we had a different story. It looked like last night was based on figuring out some pretty complex stuff. Were you watching last night?
Yeah, I was watching very closely the last night's round, and indeed the problems were a bit more on the creativity side instead of implementation side. And yeah, so I guess the big story was that unfortunately Gennady could not figure out the easiest problems that kind of pushed him off the track, so he was not very comfortable after that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's really sad that he couldn't qualify for the finals. He was probably the main challenger for the win.
Yeah, we were watching pretty closely last night. We were following along on his screen on the stream, and just seeing some struggles. I saw some pacing back and forth. Looked like it was a tough one for him, a tough night. But it sounds like you guys have a good relationship, you and him.
Actually, one of the big things why I'm doing the programming contests while working for Google is that it really is a very nice community, very tightly knit community, and I enjoy talking to people from all over the world. And I've never seen actually two people in programming contest community not get along with each other. So it's all very nice.
That's great. Yeah, I know. As soon as things wrapped up last night, really all of the algorithms competitors gathered together and were talking about the problems and supporting each other. It was a really great sight to see. So who were you watching during the competition last night?
There was just 6 people, so you could afford to actually watch what everybody is doing. And the Topcoder has a very nice setup where you can just walk a couple steps and see what everybody is doing, so it's very nice.
Well, thank you for the plug. We really appreciate that. Did you see, I think the thing that I really want to talk about out of last night's match is what happened with Enod. Did you see his challenge of Tourist's 500 submission?
Yeah, it was quite, again, so the reason I decided to look at the screen is that everybody else was looking at his screen, so it was clear that he is doing something interesting. Mm-hmm. And so it turned out that he was basically retyping Gennady's solution for 500 to run a stress test on his machine to find a test case where it fails, because it was really hard to figure out manually which test case it will fail.
That's so impressive that he was able to transcribe it so quickly and accurately.
So this part is, I would say, a bit controversial, because in general, Topcoder rules prohibit you from doing this easily. So I could imagine they could just provide you a way to download a contestant solution, but that's not allowed, because the spirit is kind of you're supposed to look at the solution and find the issue by hand. At the same time, in the case like this, when you have just 6 people and probably all solutions except one are correct, retyping is still a viable way to go. So it is something that you don't see very often, but kudos for Ian to pull it off successfully.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to watch last night. Some conflicting opinions on how it worked out, but it sounds like everyone who was watching was just awed at how accurately he could transcribe the code and the creativity in finding that solution. I think he surprised a lot of people last night, being only ranked 39 in Topcoder and taking down some of the top members, including Tourist.
Yeah, I think he's really making a very good progress recently. He's also practicing for this programming competition for university students called ACM ICPC, and because he's probably doing a lot of practice, his level increases considerably, so I think he will surprise us more in the future.
All right, I want to take a couple questions that we've been provided from our audience. We've been hyping up your appearance all morning, and we've got some questions coming in from Facebook, some from Twitch. One of them kind of relates to what happened last night. How are you feeling about tonight now knowing the Taurus is out? Do you feel like this is yours to lose? And that comes from Linux PWD on Twitch. Thank you for the question.
So yeah, indeed, now the pressure will be a bit more because objectively I have higher chances to win now, so yeah, it is mine to win now.
All right, well, we'll be featuring you tonight. We'll be watching pretty closely. I know we get a lot of people cheering for you in the chat too.
At the same time, I have to say that all other 5 contestants are very strong, and for example, the number 3 seed, Makoto Sojima, has actually won 2 TCOs, and he has participated in 2 TCOs before, so he has a 100% win rate. So it will still not be an easy walk in any sense.
I don't think anyone who comes here is here because they're a rollover. Right? Really, anyone can win with the right questions that are kind of geared towards them. All right, so another question from Linux PWD. Have you ever thought about leaving Google so you could go win the Code Jam?
These days there are really a lot of different programming competitions, and to me it's actually balanced itself quite nicely in a sense that I'm setting problems for Google Code Jam and I enjoy doing that. I think it's also an important part of this programming contest community that you kind of give back to the community and try to organize high quality contests for others to participate. So I think it works out very nicely for me.
That actually ties into another question. So thank you for the beautiful segue. You're natural with this. So this one comes from someone who has been following us on Facebook, and it's about your blog. Do you do that as a way of giving back to the community, or is it something that you do to help you sort of analyze your thoughts and help you improve?
I think it's kind of both. So I think I really like to hear that people find it interesting, and I basically derive satisfaction from helping other people with my blog. But at the same time, it's also very, refreshing to formulate some of those solutions on paper, and often you can understand them much better after you do that.
So, since we're talking about the blog, can you share the name of the blog or the URL if anyone who's viewing has not seen it before or would like to read your blog?
It's something like Petr-Dmitriev.blogspot.com, but what you can just Google for my name and then it should appear.
All right, great. You see it right here. The name is right on stream, so go ahead and Google Piotr, and you'll be able to find his blog where he likes helping people out. That's a really great way to give back to the community. Thank you on behalf of the community for doing that. All right, so a couple more questions coming in. So this one's really about how you got started programming. How old were you when you started coding, and what does your journey look like since you started that?
It was when I was, I think, around 11. So as basically started with my older brother got into coding, and I kind of followed in his footsteps. And then I saw, after a year or so, I saw these programming challenge programs, and they looked really interesting for me. So I started solving those, and then it got up and went from that pretty quickly.
All right, so have you competed in other competitive competitions as well? I know, I'm sure you have. What other competitions have you placed in before?
So there were different, as I said, there are really a lot of them these days. the most kind of prestigious ones are in high school. There is this International Olympiad in Informatics, which is a premier competition for high school students.
Right, that's the IOI.
The IOI. Yeah.
We had Scott Wu on last night, who performed very well in 2014.
Yeah, so I did never reach such heights in IOIs, but I still got. I think my best result is 5th place there. And then for university students, again, there is kind of one competition that everybody thinks is the best one, which is ACM ICPC. And that one, there my best result was 2nd place. So, and after that there is probably not a single one. So as you mentioned, there's Google Code Jam, there's Topcoder Open, of course. There are also some other competitions that are probably less established by now, but they're quickly gaining prominence. So yeah, it's a really big world now.
Does Google give you the flexibility to compete in all of the non-code jam ones?
Yeah, I mean, in Google...
And clearly you're here, so...
Well, in Google what matters is that you get your work done, but nobody really cares like when and how you do it, so yeah, it's no problem.
That's a good culture. Great. All right, let's see here. Another question coming in from Facebook. Do you think competitive programming is more of a character sport or a rigor sport? So they mean, is that something that just requires you to be like really focused and have a strong will in order to win, or is it something that's really more rigorous and you really need to grind it out and just be able to endure sort of these long sessions?
Yeah, I never thought about it from this angle, so I don't have a ready answer for you. In general, I think lots of the success here comes from practice, so it is probably more of the second one. So although you have to also have an inclination, basically have an interest in doing it, otherwise you cannot really, or at least I haven't heard of anybody who could put in all the necessary practice and become very good at competitive programming just because they decide that it's like, I don't know, logically the best course of action, something like this.
So how do you practice? I'm sure it's hard to find questions that are challenging at this point with how long you've been doing this so well. Where do you get your practice problems from?
So I think the last time I practiced for real was in university. After leaving university, getting a job, I don't really have, too much motivation to practice. So I'm also doing this contest for fun. And so my practice is just solving other contests.
Okay.
So there are a few of them.
Does that mean SRMs on Topcoder is an example of another contest?
SRMs on Topcoder or regular rounds in Code Forces or other rounds. It works out to basically 2, maybe 3 hours every week of solving this kind of contest.
All right. Very cool stuff. Let me see here. I have more and more questions flooding in. So, what do you do when you can't solve a problem? Let's say, especially when you're at an event like the Topcoder Open. I know when you're at home, it's probably a little different than when you're, on a stage in front of people. How does that feel, and what's the thought process like if you can't solve something?
It's really describe the pros of solving these kind of problems because they really require creativity. So you basically just look at it and then you solve it. So it's really hard to say what exactly goes into it. So there are some standard approaches that you can use to try to dissect the problem, make it easier to approach. But in many of those problems, there's just a moment where you just have to come up with an idea, and that one is really hard to formalize.
I can imagine. And I think that kind of helps answer the earlier question. It sounds like it's a rigor sport. You just need to keep looking at it and grind through it until you get the right solution.
Yeah.
All right.
Like that.
Let's see. I got one more question. I've been bouncing all over my sheet, so I don't know which ones I've asked and which ones I haven't. We'll let Nick do his announcement.
First to finish competition.
All right. Let me jump to the Twitch chat. Any other questions coming in from Twitch? No, we don't have anything there, but we have another one from Facebook. I got the producer handing things in now. Actually, this is a great one from Facebook. What tips would you give to a beginner coder who wants to start solving these kinds of problems?
I think the main idea is what I mentioned before, is that you really have to have an interest in there. So you should, I think, try to solve some of the easier problems like Topcoder Division 2 problems. Then you can see whether it's actually interesting for you, whether it catches your attention, whether you have a desire to solve them. If you don't, then probably it will be hard to going forward. But if you do, then you can ramp up the difficulty gradually to the more difficult problems. Then at some point start reading some theory about it and stuff like this. So I think there's a very, very clear or maybe I would say like very extensive array of resources available online for practicing these kind of problems. So if you have willingness to do it, then it's not that hard to find a way.
All right, and it sounds like the best way to do it is to write code. The only way to get better at code is writing code.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, as I said, practice is a very big thing in this area.
All right. Well, let's talk a bit about tonight's competition. So you're coming into tonight's algorithm final as the favorite competitor. I think everyone's got you at the top of their rankings right now. Does that put any extra pressure on you?
Of course it does, but I think that it kind of goes to sideline when you start looking at the problem and start solving it. You get immersed into it pretty quickly, so I don't think it changes that much, although the pressure is there, of course.
Do you listen to music when you work? Does that help?
No, I
I
just use earplugs.
Okay, so you just, the internal dialogue going. Very cool. So I know tonight 5 other competitors. You competed against all of these competitors before, right?
I think so, yes.
Maybe not in person. I know Enod at least is a first-time TCO competitor. But let's jump. I don't know if you've seen these yet. We're going to share it on stream. Oh, I'm sorry, my audio was off when I said that. So we have the tail of the tape. So we actually put these together. For anyone who's not familiar with this competition, it's really cool. But it's going to be all 6 competitors go against one another. So these aren't one-on-one matchups, but it's a cool way to compare some of their stats. So we figured we'd jump up and show Piotr's his page here. You can see his rating, the #1 ranked algorithmist on Topcoder, 100th percentile. 429 competitions on Topcoder. That's just Topcoder. That's a lot of work. That's where the practice comes in, everyone. What do you think of seeing these some of these cool things pop up now?
Yeah, that's a pretty impressive numbers, and yeah, so Bruce has been competing as well for a really long time. So I cannot enumerate all the times we met. And
Bruce is at. I feel like I see Bruce at Topcoder Open every year, always going head to head. And we have some of these for some of the other competitors as well, so featuring Kankuro and Enod on this page. Any memories or experiences with these guys?
So most of these guys are from Russia, so we actually met quite a lot of times before on some Russian programming competitions for university students, where both of them are participating or were participating last year. So yeah, there's probably much more to my interactions with them that is exposed on the Topcoder statistics.
It's got to make you feel a little bit of pride too, seeing so many of your countrymen represented.
I think this whole country thing is a bit overblown. So I would rather think that we are competing to solve interesting problems and to try to say that we represent some country or something like that.
All right, and then our last 2 competitors tonight, RNG58 and it's Eric. I can never pronounce his name. Are you able to do it?
He tried to teach me, but I'm not sure if I
know
follow. So.
It's tough. Nick Crygrier. All right, we got the producer coming in, bailing us out. Nick Castillo coming in to rescue us. So just that's the tail of the tape for tonight. We'll share that as graphics a couple more times throughout the day. But you can see right there, going back to the top, our #1 ranked algorithmist Petr joining us right now. All right, Nick, do we have any more questions coming in from Facebook, or is everyone pretty satisfied? All right, is there anyone you look up to in the competitive programming space?
No, I don't think I look up to somebody in competitive programming space because I have been doing it for it's hard to imagine, almost 20 years now. So
yeah, well, I mean, that's just confidence right there. I think that's an important part of it. Feeling like you can come in and solve these problems probably helps you an awful lot. All right, I'm going to jump back to our Twitch chat and see if we have any more. All right. No, I think that's going to be it. I see Enod's joined us in the chat. So hi, Enod. We're looking forward to seeing you guys go head-to-head tonight.
Yeah, indeed.
Petr, anything? Is there anyone watching at home that you want to say hi to, or?
Yes, actually a very good point. Because it turns out that my mother has a birthday today, and she's watching the screencast. So happy birthday, Mom!
Happy birthday!
And
I'm glad.
Of course, my wife is also watching. So hi, Ira, and so for everybody watching, I'll try to do my best, of course. and I hope you'll have an interesting competition to watch.
All right, I'm sure we will, and we will have that competition live on stream tonight, so you'll be able to watch Piotr as he works through and tries to take home his 4th TCO championship. Piotr, thank you so much for jumping on. It's been really fascinating to talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for having
All
me.
right, thank you, and everybody, we'll catch you later tonight for the Algorithm Finals.